Back to our conversation with Boston Mayor Michelle Wu. And Mayor, you've been in negotiations this past week with public employee unions about your requirement that their members get vaccinated. A couple of the police unions went to court to try to get a temporary restraining order against you unsuccessfully. But the largest police union, the Patrolmen's Association, did not do that. What's the better way to deal with you?
To deal with me as a person, my goal is to meet everyone where they are. And so I'm not asking any of our residents or city worker groups to fit into a certain box. At the same time, we must lead with public health and safety as driving every decision right now in the midst of a pandemic. And so I'm willing to engage with everyone and anyone. I'll make sure to keep showing up. But there are certain things that we are not going to take off the table, and that means taking the steps and actions that we know are working, that will make a difference and are saving lives.
You know, these interviews are a chance for you to speak directly to a lot of Bostonians and also public workers who don't live in Boston. What's your message to cops, firefighters, EMTs, teachers who are either reluctant to get the shot still or reluctant to go back to work even if they've been vaxxed?
We are so grateful for your service. I know it has been a long, exhausting pandemic. And from the earliest days when we didn't know much about the virus, but our first responders were still out there putting themselves and their families at risk, to now when it continues and we know much more and we have better treatment, but it still is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. We all need to be doing our part to keep everyone safe and healthy. And so I pledge to work closely with every single part of our city worker community, of our larger community, to take the steps so that Boston will continue to lead on this front. Again, we know that everyone is affected when vaccination gaps are still there. And we also know that what Boston has been doing has been working. The percentage of individuals and residents who have gotten their booster, who have gotten vaccinated, continues to go up with our communication efforts, with our education efforts. And so we'll keep that going because this is the only way that we'll be able to end the pandemic.
You know, I mentioned the police, and speaking of them, you've launched a search committee now for a new commissioner. What set of qualities and policy beliefs are you looking for? And does the new commissioner need to be an outsider?
Everything is on the table, and so we will be looking at candidates internally from the Boston Police as well as nationally. But the way that we're structuring this committee is so that my voice alone and my preferences won't drive the entire search. You know, certainly, I would like to see someone who would be a strong partner in building trust with community, in achieving the reforms that we need, and in keeping our city safe. But the 5 committee members who we're so lucky to have serving will start by listening publicly to all members of our community. We have 2 listening sessions already scheduled for January 20th and January 26th virtually, and we'll also have lots of smaller group conversations with stakeholders, whether it is current police officers who are serving to share what they believe the next leader of the department must bring, or community members and other leaders, young people, for example. And so after that listening, we will determine the set of parameters, values, vision, experiences that the next commissioner needs to have, and then start the process of sourcing candidates, interviewing, vetting, and making a decision.
Our time's up, but when do you expect to make a call on this? Do you have a target date, even a rough one?
We hope for springtime, so about a month for engagement, a month for vetting, a month for interviews, and hope to bring this new leader as quickly as possible into our city while we are also moving comprehensively and thoroughly.